Commissioners, this is Troy, your host. We are live and recording.
Thank you, Troy. Good afternoon and welcome to the Douglas County Board of County Commissioners Land Use and Public Hearing. Today is Tuesday, February 9th, 2021, and it is now 2:31 p.m. Would you all please stand and join us with the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and welcome to today's public hearing. Mr. Ingalls, do we have certification for the item on today's agenda?
We do, Madam Chair. Item 2A required 3 forms of notice. That was posted notice, mailed notice, and published notice. That was accomplished on January 8th, 2021, December 30th, 2020, and January 7th, 2021, respectively. With that, you have notice and jurisdiction to proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Ingalls. Do any commissioners have any disclosures for the item on today's agenda?
I have none, Madam Chair. Thank you.
No, ma'am.
And I have nothing as well. Public hearing, item number A, the Compark Filing 3, Fourth Amendment. Mike Pasica for staff.
Thank you, Commissioners. Good afternoon. Mike Pasica with Planning Services. And the application before you is a request for a use by special review for Compark Filing 3, Fourth Amendment, Lot 2C1. The project number is US 2020-006. And Alan Cabe and Catherine Wilkinson are here this afternoon. I believe they are both attending virtually on behalf of the owner, MH Real Estate, LLC. The property owner requests USR approval to operate a full semi-truck dealership, including service and repair. The property is zoned as part of the Compark Plan Development, which allows this use through the USR process. The intent of the USR process, as set forth in Section 21 of the zoning resolution, is to provide for uses in specific zoning districts that shall require a public notice and hearing and the approval of the Board of County Commissioners, subject to such conditions and safeguards as may be imposed by the board. The use by special review process begins with the submittal of an application, following a review period by referral agencies and a courtesy notice to adjacent property owners. Notice is given for public hearings before the Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioners. Staff received no public comments opposed to the application. Referral comments were standard in nature and have been addressed. Specifically, the Stonegate Village Metropolitan District has provided a commitment to provide water and sewer service to the property. Comments from Tri-County Health regarding preventive pollution measures for auto-related uses have been addressed. The applicant has satisfied requirements of Section 19 of the Douglas County Zoning Resolution Centennial Airport Overlay District by including the required warning note on the USR plan exhibit, and all engineering reports, plans, and studies have been approved. The Planning Commission heard the request at its January 25th, 2021 public hearing. One person spoke in regards to a private road maintenance agreement that is being negotiated with the applicant. On the record, the applicant agreed to the terms of the cost-sharing proposal and the proposed condition of approval in the staff report. The PC recommended approval of the USR by a vote of 7-0. Quickly take a look at zoning. The site is 13.25 acres. It's highlighted in blue, and it's located in the north central portion of the county, roughly a half-mile east of the intersection of South Peoria Street and Compark Boulevard. There is PD zoning to the north, east, and west, and E470 in the town of Parker lie to the south. Take a look at an aerial view of the property. Again, it's outlined in blue. Access to the site occurs via an existing private drive on the east side of the property that connects to Compark Boulevard. The property is currently undeveloped. There are existing retaining walls on the east portion of the site, and the property has been previously graded. And again, E470 borders the site to the south. You can see it in the bottom of the picture. In 2015, a site improvement plan was approved for a self-storage facility, but it was never constructed. The Compark Plan Development provides for a variety of commercial and light industrial uses. Motor vehicle equipment, sales, service, and repair is allowed only through the use by special review process. The site is currently platted as 2 lots. A lot line vacation is being processed concurrently to vacate an interior lot line to create 1 lot, and that which will be finalized and recorded prior to final signatures on the USR exhibit per proposed condition number 2. This is page 2 of the USR exhibit, and it depicts the site layout, including access, parking, and location of the proposed building, and north is to the right in this picture. Parking is available for employees and customers as designated on the plan. Temporary trailer parking occurs in the southeast corner of the site, right down here. And vehicles for sale, display, and trucks, the temporary trailer parking occurs in the southeast corner of the site. Vehicles for sale, display, and trucks in for repair or awaiting customer pickup constitute the majority of the parking. And there are separate access points for customers and trucks and trailers. This is page 6 of the USR exhibit, showing the proposed on-site landscaping. The applicant will go into greater detail about this plan in their presentation. This is page 11 of the USR exhibit that shows the 4 elevations of the proposed building. The Compark Architectural Control Committee has approved the building and site design. In addition to the site plan layout, the USR regulations require that various operational details and limitations be set forth on the plan exhibit. The management plan addresses the items on this slide as described in detail within the staff report. And the proposal, if approved, would have 80 total employees with 60 on a maximum shift. Quickly run through some pictures. This is a view looking south along the east side of the property. You can see the private drive and the retaining walls roughly in the center of the picture. And those retaining walls will remain. This is a view looking northwest from the existing curb cut on that private drive. And this view looks north from that existing curb cut, also on the private drive. This is a view to the south towards E470. It's off in the distance. And this is a view again to the north, looking at the private drive, and this would be the access, roughly the access point for where trucks would enter and exit the site. And this is a view to the southwest with E470 just off to the left. This is the location of the 30-foot landscape easement and berm that the applicant is proposing. The approval standards for a USR request are set forth in section 21 and listed on this slide. Staff's analysis of the approval standards are discussed in detail on pages 7, 8, 9, and 10 of the staff report. Staff has evaluated the use by special review request in accordance with section 21 of the zoning resolution. Should the board find that the approval standards have been met, staff proposes the following conditions be included in the motion. Condition number 1, prior to final approval of the record copy of the USR plan exhibit, any necessary technical corrections shall be made to the satisfaction of Douglas County. Condition number 2, prior to final approval of the record copy of the USR plan exhibit, the associated administrative replat will be recorded. Condition number 3, prior to final approval of the record copy of the USR plan exhibit, the required drainage easement will be approved by the board and recorded. These drainage easements are scheduled for the February 25th, 2021 BCC business meeting. Condition number 4, prior to building services performing final inspections of the proposed development, the applicant shall provide to planning services a recorded copy of a fully executed amended common area maintenance agreement. And condition number 5, all commitments and promises made by the applicant or the applicant's representative during the public hearing and or agreed to in writing and included in the public record have been relied upon by the Board of County Commissioners in approving the application. Therefore, such approval is conditioned upon the applicant's full satisfaction of all such commitments and promises. Section 2109.09 of the zoning resolution sets forth the parameters for the board's action for USR requests. And that includes my presentation. As I mentioned earlier, the applicant is here with a presentation, or I am open to questions.
Thank you, Mike. Questions for staff?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did have a couple of questions, but I will reserve those for the applicant's presentation.
I promise I will figure out these microphones before my last day. I promise. My question pertains to the current zoning. I mean, it looks to be, obviously, the use by special review is based upon the current zoning in place. And then I also see that the prior application that granted a use by special review for as a self-storage site was granted earlier. But what is the current just basic zoning on this property?
Plan development.
Okay.
That's the basic zoning. Yep.
Okay. And then I see the adjacent land uses, light industrial, then there's undeveloped, and then there's light industrial. And okay. So the use by special review is basically because they are in one of those categories where it's allowed under a special review.
That's correct. With it, yeah, the PD states specifically that this use has to go through the county's special use process.
Okay. I always want to ask that question when it comes to a use by special review, because in my prior experience, there could be any number of reasons for it, and I always like to pinpoint that, so thank you very much.
You bet.
Mike, I have a couple of questions. I think it's on page 4, and it's towards the top, it says context, item number 3, context.
Page 4 of the staff report?
I'm sorry, page 5 of 77.
Okay. Yes.
And it says context. So in the second paragraph under that, it says an administrative replat is being processed concurrently to combine lots 2B and 2C into 2 lots, thereby creating lot 2C1. Is that one lot?
That should be one lot, yes.
Okay,
Sorry
I
for
kept
that.
reading that thinking, what am I missing?
I apologize for that typo.
Okay, and then in the next section down under C, under the management plan, it says the maximum number of employees on site will be 60 and there will be multiple shifts. Long-term parking of customer trucks or trailers undergoing repair or maintenance is not permitted. What is the definition of long-term?
I don't know that we have a definition for that for the applicant, and I'll let him explain this in more detail. It's a matter of just a couple of days, 2 to 3 days. They're moved in and out very quickly. They don't want long-term parking. And that even goes for the trailers that a customer might bring in attached to their truck that's going to be repaired. That'll only be for a matter of 2 to 3 days. And we didn't specify what a short term is in the management plan. I guess it'll allow for a little flexibility, but I think the applicant can probably explain, give a little more detail on just how long those repairs take.
Great, I will ask them that. And just to orient me to where this is this next door to American Furniture Warehouse?
It is, there is a set of buildings in between this development and American Furniture Warehouse.
So having big trucks in that area won't be something unusual?
It will not.
Okay, thank you. I have no other questions. And the applicant, if they would like to speak, we'd like to hear their name, spell their last name, and give us an address, please, before you start.
Okay, Alan Cabe, C-A-B as in boy E. Address is 11120 Tomahawk Creek Parkway, Leawood, Kansas, 66211.
Thank you, Mr. Cabe.
Yes, thank you for your time today. Mike, are you going to be pulling up my
Yep.
presentation?
I'm going to pull it up here.
Okay.
There you go. It's ready, Alan.
Okay. Again, we're here for our use by special review as set forth in the zoning of the property that we have purchased. A lot of repeat information from Mike, so I'll just touch on some of the things that you guys were asking about and some of the highlights that we've touched through. You can go ahead and go through, Mike. Again, we're applying for the use by special review so that we can have sales, service, and repair with no restriction as to have tractor trailers on the site. MHC, our company, is a full-service dealership network. We've got over 120 locations across 19 states, 6 of which are in Colorado. Here's a list of customers that we service in Douglas County and the surrounding areas currently. Next slide, please. Myself, property and facility manager for MHC. Our VP and EVPs for that region are Josh Schwartz and Brian Murphy. And then we have our design team as well. And Catherine Wilkinson is our local consultant. I do also represent MH Real Estate as the landowner. Next slide. Vicinity of the map here, just off E470 in the Compark Boulevard, just west of Peoria Street. Next slide. Located in the Compark Business Park, filing number 3. Adjacent property uses are industrial and commercial under the plan development. Next slide. This is just traffic patterns, kind of showing how we access the site from Compark Boulevard, which is the main access road, coming in and either hitting one of the 2 of our entrances, and kind of the flow around the site for trucks and customer parking. Next slide. This highlights also the parking areas for the customer parking, the new and used trucks towards the north or the right-hand side, employee parking on either side of the building there in the center, the truck parking in the back along with the trailer parking. And just to kind of expand on the questions you guys were asking about short-term versus long-term, basically long-term parking would be like us almost like renting out spots for someone to have to store long-term or to keep something unused for a long time, like trailers or anything like that. The only thing on this site is something that's either going to be sold or is being ready to be fixed or ready to be picked up after being fixed. We don't work on trailers. We don't sell trailers. The only time we have trailers on site is when a customer has, is pulling one down the road. They need to repair their truck. We leave the trailer outside, pull the truck into the shop, make the repairs, and then send them on their way. Our actual average service ticket is 4 to 6 hours. Lots of variables of repairs. I would say if it's going to be a quote unquote long repair, that's usually going to be a couple of days. If it's you got to do a big repair on the motor or something, you got to order parts. That would be considered long term, in our opinion. So nothing longer than that is the intent. I would say, just to clarify that, like our new and used trucks, those potentially could be parked there longer in that they're being there until they're sold. So, but those are brand new, clean, shiny trucks, if you will, kind of along the front. There's usually not a ton of those. I would say 25 or less at a time, always coming and going, if you will, just kind of similar to a car lot, but just trucks. Next slide, please. This shows just the orientation of the building, kind of the warehouse sales area in the front, the 3 main entrances for parts, service, or sales, with the shop being on the south or the left-hand side of the building. Next slide. These just kind of zoom ins of the elevations that Mike also showed, showing the north and south elevations. The next slide shows the east and west long sides, showing the different architectural elements, roof lines, screening, translucent doors, and then kind of the reveals and coloring scheme of the panels themselves. And that's from the east side. You can also see the landscaping here. We got some renderings coming up that give you a little better view of what that will look like. Go to the next slide, please. So this is just building compatibility. This is showing the pictures of the buildings adjacent to us. The 13796 Compark Boulevard, that is directly to the east of our proposed property. The 8835 American Way is also to the east of us, but on the south side of the lot. Just showing compatibility with tilt-up concrete, architectural elements, and as well as the landscaping. The next slide shows the buildings to the north and the northwest a little bit. Same thing, just outlining compatibility with the surrounding areas. Next slide. These next two slides list out the criteria that we followed with the USR review per the Douglas County zoning resolution, and specifically section 21. Next slide. It's just the remaining items that Mike outlined as well. And we'll recap these here throughout the presentation. Next slide, please. This is showing the zoning, planning area 5 of the highway business employment. I believe it's called the Parker Municipal Planning Area with the PD zoning. Next slide. Yep, here we go, the municipal planning area inside the Parker Municipal Planning Area. Next slide. That's per the comprehensive plan for the county. This is showing the property and the adjacents. This also shows you kind of where it is. Right there, the big rectangle building is the American Furniture. We have PD commercial and industrial surrounding us. And then of course the undeveloped, currently agriculture to the west, and E470 directly to the south. Next slide. As far as environmentally, all our business functions occur inside the facility, so little to no impact to neighboring commercial properties such as air, water, or noise pollution. Everything's done inside the shop. Photometric levels were taken and done for our lighting design, so no light pollution outside the property line. The Tri-County Health Department brought up concerns with auto-related uses, meaning like grease and oil in the shop. Our shop drains are protected by a sand oil interceptor. So we addressed that concern with that being installed. And Engineering Services has reviewed and approved the Phase 3 drainage report and the GESC plan and report. There is a regional detention pond to the east of American Furniture Warehouse that is part of the drainage plan for this area, and that's what's been accounted for on the detention for our property. Next slide, please. This is the landscape plan. This is zoomed in on the north side. We got some input and approval from the Compark Design Review Committee. They obviously wanted to conform with the surrounding areas. Also, just wanted to keep views from the main roads and other properties nice looking, if you will, and not just looking at parking lot. There's a lot of different layering of trees and local species to match, also around the building and back around the dock areas to screen those type of areas. The next slide shows the south side of the lot, and specifically the trailer parking there to the southeast corner. We have the tall pine trees along with the berm that goes in the landscape easement along E470 to provide screening. These larger islands towards the south end of the lot, those also have large trees in them to help additional screening of that parking from E470. We kind of have larger islands and more extensive landscaping around the perimeter in lieu of multiple smaller islands throughout the parking lot. The nature of trucks on a lot, small islands, they get hit, trees get ran into, and it's a long-term maintenance issue. So we substitute that with larger islands, larger trees, and more layering and larger amount of landscaping around the perimeter to obtain that screening and overall feel that everyone's looking for. Next slide, please. These are just some basic aerial views from above and also from the highway from the east and west. Again, layering clusters of pine trees, conifers, canopy trees to screen and conform with the existing developments. Next slide. The next couple slides are renderings. This is a rendering from the northwest side, if you will, showing, again, a look of what the building and the architectural elements look like along with the landscaping. The next slide is from the northeast corner, looking back down the building at the multiple customer entrances. And the next slide should show from the south side around the building, and you can see some of the shrubs and taller bushes, for a lack of a better term, in the island to help with that screening. Next slide, please. This is just going back through the checklist of complying with all the requirements of the DCZR in Section 21. Complying with all those requirements, consistent with the master plan, in harmony and compatible with the surrounding areas. Doesn't result in over-intensive use of land. Next slide, please. Providing public facilities, no environmental issues, adequately landscaped and buffered for screening, complies with standards regarding water supply. We have a will serve letter from the water municipality, and will not otherwise be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the present or future inhabitants of the county. Next slide should be the end. With that, I'd like to thank you for your time and consideration, and we open to any questions that you guys have.
Thank you, Mr. Cabe. Questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. McCabe, for the very thorough presentation for us this afternoon. I just have one question for you, and it's with regard to the Arapahoe County Public Airport Authority correspondence in the referral record from 7/13/2020. They mentioned that the proposed development lies approximately 0.62 miles from the nearest runway at Centennial Airport and recommended a navigation easement for development within the AIA. Can you walk us through, and perhaps staff can supplement your response to that?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, we talked with them, and it's just a recommendation from them. We looked at, there was no existing easement filed on the property existing, and there isn't any on any of the other adjoining properties around us, so it wasn't really an established, thing that's happened around here. So and our heights and what we do is well below any of other requirements that they have. I think, Mike, and you might help me, I think there's a note maybe that's going to be on the plat that's essentially, or there is one that's been on the plat that essentially we understand that there's fly lines, aircraft going to be above or going over our property. And I believe there is a note on a requirement for like construction for us, but any special permits, if there's any hoisting or any activity that has anything that goes over a certain height. So we had those conversations back and forth with the airport authority, with their comments as related to this. And I think just with the notice on the plat, and I would have to look that up to get that exact wording, along with that's what all the other adjoining properties have done. That's how we left it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cabe. I think it's an indemnification provision that you landed on, but I'm wondering if staff had any other additional information or thought around that.
Commissioner Layden, Mike Basique with Planning Services. When we did discuss this with Mr. Cabe, and since the comment from Centennial Airport was a recommendation to file that abrogation easement, we told him that if you would like to do that on your own, you can do that. We're not going to require that. We do require the note indemnifying the county, which is a standard note from our zoning code. And that note is consistent with other projects in the area. They also have that note on their plans, as well as the plat.
Okay. Not to belabor the point, wondering if Mr. Ingalls, our county attorney, has any insights or thoughts around the indemnification provision from a legal standpoint.
Well, yeah, I'd be happy to answer any questions the board has. This is a common issue that comes up with respect to the airport authority in Douglas County. So Douglas County has adopted in its regulations a specific abrogation kind of warning that it puts in all of its final plats, and it's required by its regulations. And that is the thing that Douglas County insists on when anyone is building in the airport influence area. The airport authority routinely asks for a little bit more, but that has never been a Douglas County requirement. So what staff is proposing and what is currently on the draft of the use by special review is consistent with Douglas County regulations.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ingalls. No further questions, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Questions?
Yes, ma'am. Alan, I wonder if you could tell me a little bit about Kenworth, South Denver. I mean, is this a relocation of an existing business?
Yeah, so we currently, it's a newer location for us. We have our central Denver location that's been there for 20 plus years. We opened up, we're in Parker, we're leasing a building in Parker. We started leasing that right at the end of 2019. So it is an existing location that's starting to build that business. Obviously it starts small and we keep growing it as we get our permanent building developed. So it is an existing business that'll be moving into our permanent building that we own.
And this is that permanent building, this is that forever home?
Yeah, well, I mean, at least for the next 20 years plus,
All right, all right. So the current location in Parker, does that employ the 80 employees that we saw in the packet, or is the 80 the anticipation of growth?
That's the anticipation of growth. I'd have to look. I know the current facility, I want to say, that's not really my department, but if last time I was there, I want to say with even the mobile guys and delivery guys, I want to say there's, 10 to 15 employees there now, one shift. And we have a very small service capabilities at that current building. So we are building our technician employees and staff at our current Denver location as far as getting those techs hired, trained, and ready to go into this building. That 80 number is what's expected when this thing's churning and burning, if you will. That's what it's been designed as far as a capacity for employees.
Outstanding. That answers my questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Cabe, I have one question for you. There were 5 conditions of approval. Do you remember what those are? Would you like to see staff put them up on the screen so you can see them?
I'm aware of all of them. I couldn't recite to you off the top of my head right this second.
I don't need you to
all of them.
I don't need you to repeat them to me. I just need you to tell me if you agree with all 5 of them.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I needed to know. I asked the wrong question. I apologize. Thank you. I have no other questions. I'm going to open this up then for public comment. Are there any citizens who would like to comment on this to us? I see no one in the hearing room. Ms. Dunning, is there anyone online?
I have no hands raised.
Thank you. I will close public testimony. I'll bring this back to the board for deliberation and or a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So after hearing the application and the information from staff, I'm fairly convinced that the grounds for approval, the legal grounds for approval have been met, and I will be in favor.
Yeah, this is a no-brainer for me. I mean, we're increasing primary employment here in Douglas County. We're growing a business that currently exists in Douglas County. Based on my review, this looks perfectly consistent with this land use, and I think it fulfills the requirements of use by special review per the criteria presented today.
And I believe in looking at the criteria that this application does meet all the criteria, and I also will be in support of this application.
In that case, Madam Chair, if it pleases the board, I'd like to make a motion to approve a use by special review for a full-service semi-truck dealership on Compark Filing 3, Fourth Amendment, Lot 2C-1, with 5 conditions as presented. Project file US 2020-006.
Second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion passes. Congratulations, Mr. Cabe. Welcome to another business location in Douglas County.
Thank you.
And this ends today's land use and public hearing. The next land use meeting and public hearing will be held on Tuesday, February 23rd at 2:30 in the afternoon.